Tonight, on Most Shocking, a ruthless gunman makes a run for a crowd, forcing cops to take him down. And riot police get cornered by a vicious mob and have to open fire. Then, an officer faces hot lead as a sniper unloads. Plus, a SWAT team takes aim at a deranged man wielding a samurai sword. Then later, a pistol-packing robber sparks a point-blank shootout. This is not a movie. Everything you're about to see is real. Brace yourself. This is Most Shocking. Deadly Force.
Long Beach, California. Police pursue a car thief for the better part of an hour. The driver stole the vehicle during a brazen home invasion. He is considered armed and extremely dangerous. Suddenly, he makes a break for a crowded restaurant. Gun in hand. Officers have to act fast. One shot knocks the suspect off his feet. His pistol goes flying. But then, he reaches in his pocket. Cops fear he's going for another weapon. They have no choice. Multiple shots hit the fugitive, but authorities remain on guard. Tragically, the man does not survive his wounds. For officers, it's always a last resort. But when this desperate gunman darted for a crowd, cops had to take him down before he could endanger innocent lives. Buenos Aires, Argentina. Dozens of angry protesters fill the streets. And the city descends into madness. Upset with the government over the country's sagging economy, hordes of demonstrators pour into the heart of downtown. Soon they turn their aggression on the officers charged with keeping order. The night is headed down a bloody path. And it's about to get much worse. Throngs vicious protesters suddenly charge toward a government building. Riot police try to hold the line, but they are quickly overpowered. The bloodthirsty mob corners the cops and pelts the trapped men with whatever they can find. Then, as more radicals rush the steps, things take a potentially deadly turn. With their backs against a wall, officers are forced to open fire. They unload on their attackers to save themselves. After the shootout, one man is seriously injured and rushed to the hospital. Others manage to run away, barely able to avoid the flying bullets. Hours later, the chaotic streets are left smoldering, and the uprising comes to an end. It's a protest that started over the state of the economy. But when demonstrators threatened the lives of officers, police responded in force, leaving insurgents paying a costly price. Brentwood, Tennessee. A manhunt is underway as a dangerous bank robber tries to get out of town.
ECS has been robbed. Tall, white male, mustache, real slim. He has a gun.
He's armed with an AR-15 assault rifle and is running somewhere through the neighborhood. Locked and loaded. Officer Stephanie Warner's dash cam rolls as she searches for the man. She approaches the intersection next to the bank, but can't find the suspect. Then suddenly, the suspect finds her. It's an ambush, and the young cop is the target. The gunman rushes in from the right and fires. Bullet explodes through the passenger window, ripping into Warner's shoulder. With no time to put on the cruiser's handbrake, the injured officer bails out and draws her gun, only to find herself in a Met Man's crosshairs.
I looked towards the rear lights of my car, and there he was. He had an assault rifle aiming at me and was shooting.
Warner opens fire on the subject, who returns it with deadly accuracy. The high-caliber bullets from the perp's gun tear right through her cruiser, shattering the windshield and whizzing past her head. Then, in the heat of the exchange, disaster. Warner's weapon locks up, leaving her defenseless.
My gun jammed, and that was because I was weak-handed because my arm had been injured.
She struggles desperately to clear the chamber while the suspect bears down.
I was running backwards, I was dodging bullets, and I was trying to survive.
Using her cruiser as a rolling shield, the officer breaks for cover. By now, backup units are on scene. They have to act fast to save the life of their partner. The suspect falls in a hail of bullets. He later succumbs to his injuries. Other cops rush to the injured Warner's aid.
Where's that? Corey, get me there. Let's come here right now. We got an officer down.
The brave patrolwoman is taken to a hospital. She credits her survival to quick thinking and backup.
There's no other way that I would have survived without angels being around me and without my fellow police officers being there.
Stephanie Warner has since left the force, but she'll never forget the day a would-be cop killer gambled with the lives of police officers and lost.
Coming up, two armed robbers threaten clerks' lives and get beaten to the ground. Then, dangerous gunmen try to blast their way to freedom and pay the ultimate price. Plus, a sidewalk samurai that sharpens steel against explosive firepower. That's next on Most Shocking Deadly Force.
Coventry, England. Two men charge into a father-son shop, threatening to beat them senseless with makeshift clubs. The young clerk, Manindir Karir, suddenly realizes the magnitude of the encounter when he sees one thug carrying an 8-inch hunting knife.
that's where the fear kind of started to set in then, because it was a case of, you know, this is real, this is happening, and he's got a knife. What do we do?
In a split second, it's a pulse-pounding nightmare for the shop owners. Manohar Singh, the clerk's father, fights for his life.
It's happened so quickly. You can think about that time what's happening.
One bandit demands money, smashing the register. The other slashes at the old man with a razor-sharp blade. The elderly clerk uses a case of beer to block the vicious knife attack. But it provides little protection.
He's just so out of control. You know, anything can happen now. They weren't coming in just trying to scare us as well. It was, you know, there was quite a bit of intent there as well.
Maninder knows if he doesn't do something soon, his father could be killed.
The fear has pretty much set in before it gets really bad. Something has to be done. We have to do something.
In the chaos, the son goes for a weapon of his own.
That's why I sort of just looked around and, you know, saw the stick. I thought, well, I've just got to go and try and grab that and at least try and scare him off.
The panicked robbers scramble for the door. But one of them doesn't get far. The clerk lands a direct hit with his stick, and the knifeman crashes to the ground, unconscious.
It was just swing. It's just swing and hit him, and that was it.
The second felon gets away empty-handed. But with his friend in custody, it's just a matter of time before they're both behind bars.
Could all have been so much different, and that's one thing, you know, we was grateful for, that it went the way it did and nothing more serious had happened.
Thanks God, nobody, we are okay and nobody hurt.
This brutal armed robbery forced clerks to fight for their lives. And left a hot-headed crook knocked out cold. Bogota, Colombia. Police set up a dragnet to catch an organized gang extorting money from local businesses. The criminals have no idea cops are lying in wait until the bandits break for cover. Guns blazing. But officers have the area surrounded. Hit by a barrage of bullets, 3 of the gangsters go down immediately. One of them won't be getting back up. In all, 6 gunmen are arrested in the sting. They are victims of their own arrogance. The brazen crook shook down the same store just week before. But this time, cops were ready. In the aftermath of the shootout, officers enter the shop and find the entire staff huddled in a back room. They're shaken, but grateful to be alive. Because when these repeat criminals turned their guns on the law, police ensured they couldn't strike again. Seattle, Washington. A disturbed man wielding a samurai sword causes panic in the heart of the city. He threatens to slash at passing citizens. And with a long blade to back it up, this situation could easily turn deadly. A SWAT team quickly takes control of the scene. They shout at the deranged swordsman to drop his weapon. But when his street-side Shogun shows signs of aggression, officers know they have to take action. Cops open fire. But it's not bullets they're using. It's beanbags. is repeatedly pelted by non-lethal rounds, but still doesn't drop his weapon. SWAT decides on a different tactic. The high-pressured water cannon quickly knocks the menace to the pavement. Then, to make sure he can't strike at officers, they blind him with tear gas. Finally, it takes a ladder and an animal noose to disarm the man and end his day of chaos. The delusional thug is rushed to the hospital. Thankfully, no one else is injured. But when this wannabe ninja threatened the city with a 13th century deadly weapon, cops were forced to fight back with a 21st century arsenal and take this pseudo-samurai to the mat.
Still to come, an escaped prisoner unleashes hell on the highway. But first, a man charges cops with a gun and gets dropped in his tracks. And later, a car thief draws his weapon, pulling an officer into a bloody firefight. Straight ahead on Most Shocking Deadly Force.
San Luis Obispo, California. It's a call every officer dreads. A demented man wreaks havoc on the streets with a loaded weapon. Sheriff's deputies order him to drop his gun.
Hey, put the rifle down! Put the rifle down!
But their demands fall on deaf ears.
Put it down! Put it down!
He heads straight for the cops, aiming the barrel and leaving them with only one option. Two officers fire 4 rounds. One shot pierces the gunman's chest and drops him to the pavement.
One shot fired, men down.
But the danger's not over.
Don't move. Don't move.
The deputies quickly secure the scene and try to calm the man as they wait for an ambulance.
Just don't move, man.
It's then that the man reveals his true motives.
I'm gonna kill you.
It appears the entire incident was a case of attempted suicide by cop. But thanks to officers' restraint, the gunman survives. He forced police to make what could have been a deadly decision.
You got a rifle?
Thankfully, it didn't cost him his life.
Put the rifle down! One shot fired, man down.
Lancaster, California. At a local jewelry store, a pair of anxious customers are giving owner Terry Hodgkins a bad feeling.
The hair on the back of my neck stood up. It was just the sixth sense that I've tried to listen to since our other incident that we had.
11 years ago, 2 armed punks robbed the store with traumatic results.
My wife and I were both shot. I was shot twice. My wife was shot once.
Thankfully, both of them survived. And now, Terry is armed to the teeth. While the salesman deals with the customers, Terry stands behind a one-way mirror, watching the 2 men check out a $7,000 gold chain.
They were handing it back and forth to each other. I was very nervous and very suspect at the point that they were going to run with the chain.
After 8 agonizing minutes, they suddenly strike. One suspect grabs the chain, breaks for the door. His partner gets only 3 steps when Terry bursts in and fires 2 shots.
They seemed very surprised when I came out of the back.
The chain grabber gets away, while the thundering sound of 9mm gunfire sends his partner diving to the floor.
The entire incident took 3 seconds. I fired 2 shots in 3 seconds, and the gentleman was on the ground.
Terry holds the suspect at gunpoint until police arrive. The thief who took a gold chain is still at large, but his accomplice gets sentenced to 2 years behind bars. A decade ago, 2 thugs got the drop on Terry Hodgkins. But this time, he was armed, ready, and waiting to use deadly force.
I have no problem with what I did, and I would be prepared to do it again tomorrow.
Lebanon, Ohio. Police are in hot pursuit of an escaped convict. Moments ago, Adam Carpenter stole the SUV at gunpoint and is now driving armed and dangerous. He makes it brutally clear he's not going back to prison by slamming into other drivers. One by one, the vehicle's tires start to shred. Growing desperate, Carpenter targets more innocent motorists with deadly precision. It's a warning for officers to stay back. Ceding his chance, the suspect weaves wildly through traffic to shake his pursuer. Soon, the cop trails a distant cloud of smoke and charges down the shoulder to catch back up. Carpenter wrecks 2 more cars to maintain his lead. If his rampage keeps going, someone is bound to be killed. Then, the driver swerves onto an exit. Police can't let the armed man disappear into suburban neighborhoods. But then, officers catch a lucky break. The embattled SUV suddenly dies on the off-ramp. Carpenter surrenders without a fight and is sentenced to 15 additional years behind bars. This escaped inmate went to lethal extremes to make his getaway. But in the end, his smashing, crashing race from the law came to a grinding halt.
Up next, a gang of armed thieves opens fire on officers. And violent protesters pummel police, leaving lawmen with just one choice. When most shocking, Deadly Force returns.
San Jose, Costa Rica. A squad of undercover cops storms a neighborhood where a gang of armed robbers hide out. The plan, move in fast and hit them hard. Officers rush the first suspect they encounter and wrestle under the ground. But the other surprised gang members suddenly open fire. Dodging bullets, another cop opens a car door and holds two more bandits at gunpoint. Incredibly, no police are wounded in the firefight. They rush down the street on foot and on wheels to round up the remaining two fugitives. Within minutes, all 5 gang members are under arrest. One tried to disguise himself with a toupee, but the sharp-eyed cops could spot a bad hairpiece a mile away. In a lightning-fast showdown with gun-toting thugs, officers prove that the best defense against crime is a good offense. Flint, Michigan. Officer Ed Ungerman waits in a speed trap when he gets a call about a stolen motorcycle.
About a minute after the call came out, that's when I saw the motorcycle go by me.
Ungerman tries to pull the biker over, but the man is determined to get away.
Once he gave it the gas, he was going forward and wasn't going to stop.
The suspect tries everything to shake his pursuer, pulling 180s, cranking sudden turns, and blasting through busy intersections. The madman comes within inches of causing a deadly crash.
One of the things that goes through my mind is how far is he going to take it?
The renegade charges ahead at 70 miles an hour. Fast enough to catch air over small road bumps. It takes expert driving for Ungerman to keep up with the nimble motorcycle.
I'm trying to stay close to him because I know if I give him any kind of distance, he's going to outmaneuver me.
He bumps the back tire as a warning.
I think I kind of surprised him a little bit.
But the man at the handlebars refuses to back down. At these speeds, the 600-pound machine is a deadly weapon. And Ungerman is determined to stop it.
Once a situation meets certain criteria, if you have to use deadly force, then that's what's just going to have to be done.
Each time he gets the chance, he rams the back of the bike. Each time, the perp slips away. But when the suspect slows to nearly a stop, it's game over. Ungerman slams the rear tire so hard, the rider is bucked to the asphalt, while the bike rolls away on its own.
At that point, he fell to the ground with his pants around his behind. He got up, pulled his pants up, and started running.
Ungerman spots the man limping behind a house and takes the patrol car off-road. When the panicked perp slips on the wet grass, the officer moves in.
Get out of the ground! Don't move! Don't move!
Earl Rembert III is subsequently convicted of carjacking and fleeing a police officer and is serving 10 to 40 years in prison. This rebel rider wanted to do things his way, but when he put lives at risk, including his own, Officer Ungerman had to use blunt force and end his ride the hard way. Lima, Peru. Cops crack down on illegal money changers trading foreign currency. But when the banned businessmen refuse to clear out, the situation boils over into a lawless free-for-all. Vendors arm themselves with sticks and rocks and take brutal aim at officers. Suddenly, the vicious onslaught takes a grave turn. Like a pack of wolves, the bloodthirsty mob surrounds one policeman and bludgeons him with 2x4s. It's a life-threatening situation. Just off camera, authorities open fire to save their own. In the attack, officers take down several violent agitators and finally put an end to the mayhem. This attempt to clean up the city turned into a violent mess. But when illegal money changers put a price on cops' heads, police had to fight back, putting them out of business permanently.
Coming up, a SWAT team moves in to take out heavily armed gunmen. And a showdown in the streets pits cops against an explosive mob. That's next on Most Shocking, Deadly Force.
Bethany, Oklahoma. This farming community is used to slow-moving tractors. But today, a drug-crazed car thief is tearing up their highways at top speed. Police spotted in the stolen SUV smoking crack.
Yeah, tell the police we've got it in sight.
Now, high behind the wheel, he is a loaded weapon.
He's on Sarah Road, going south.
Officers struggle to keep up.
This car is not stopping.
But Detective Michael LaFoon is about to pick up the chase.
I was off duty and I saw the chase on TV at my house. I decided to get involved because it was within 4 or 5 miles from my house, and I'm the only one up north with a 4-wheel drive vehicle.
The suspect pushes deeper into the countryside. He gets increasingly desperate, stopping at nothing to get away.
And whoa, just a near miss right there.
Even when he completely runs out of road, he makes one of his own.
This guy's doing everything he can to get away.
The driver shortcuts through grass fields in a frantic attempt to elude a roadblock. But with police units on the ground and a chopper overhead, the noose tightens around the fugitive's neck.
Yeah, I see a police car now. He needs to turn left to the next dirt road, and we can lead him to where his car is.
He cuts through pastures, putting cows on the run. Then he rips through a fence with the highway just in sight. He won't make it.
The police are waiting up at the end of this road.
At a freshly fertilized field, LaFoon swoops in to plant him with a pit maneuver. But it's not over yet. The cracked-out criminal refuses to surrender.
If this guy doesn't give up, they may have to use deadly force.
LaFoon steels himself for a situation that could turn violent.
You have to take into consideration that they could be armed, and all of them are dangerous until you figure out exactly what you're into.
The lone detective tries smashing the window to take the suspect down. Backup arrives to assist. with nowhere left to run, the man finally relents before the standoff gets bloody.
He came very close to getting shot. Yes, I was prepared to use deadly force if I had to.
Rodolfo Trevino is convicted of possession of a stolen vehicle, eluding police, and possession of drug paraphernalia. He is sentenced to 10 years behind bars, but a fatal end is averted. Thanks to an eye in the sky and a long arm of the law that teamed up to make sure this runaway wrongdoer got plowed. Bend, Oregon. A neighbor films as a SWAT team moves in on heavily armed suspects. Fueled by drugs and liquor, the two residents of this unit have spent the evening firing high-power assault rifles into the air and leaving neighbors fearing for their lives. Knowing the men are sitting on a huge cache of weapons, the SWAT team is prepared to use lethal force to neutralize their targets. The field commander repeats the order to surrender. Each moment the armed suspects don't respond, the standoff gets more tense. The neighbors take cover, closing themselves off from what could be a hailstorm of bullets. The situation continues into early morning. Then, just as day breaks, officers pull the gunman from the apartment. Incredibly, the entire time SWAT was outside, the suspects were fast asleep inside. They awake to face justice. And a situation that could have easily been deadly comes to a peaceful end. But that doesn't mean they'll go quietly. In their hungover stupor, they have no idea how close they were to being taken down permanently. A subsequent search turns up several pounds of marijuana, thousands of dollars in cash, and an arsenal of deadly weapons. These suspects are just lucky this special weapons team is as skilled in restraint as it is in use of force. La Plata, Argentina. A violent faction of human rights advocates protest the government's treatment of political prisoners. The group is small compared to police numbers, but that doesn't mean they aren't dangerous. One rebel ups the stakes, tossing a Molotov cocktail. The homemade bomb detonates, setting an officer on fire. Fellow lawmen race to put out the flames. It's clear this demonstration has taken a potentially deadly turn. Police regroup and storm the protest line, firing rubber bolts at the troublemakers. The quick strike works, ending the uprising in a bloodless coup. These demonstrators may have been campaigning for a good reason, but when they took action that could have taken a life, it it was their violent methods that made the headlines.
Coming up, a cop faces down an armed thug who's aiming to kill. Next on Most Shocking, Deadly Force.
Altamont Springs, Florida. Officer Mike Lavoie identifies a car recently used in a robbery. The suspect in the passenger seat held up a man at gunpoint, and he's most likely still armed. So when the car comes to a stop, Lavoie prepares himself for the worst. He rushes in, weapon ready. And then it happens. The officer suddenly finds himself in the sights of the ruthless passenger's gun. The driver bails out. He is an innocent hostage, now caught in the crossfire. Bullets fly as the maniacal shooter unloads. Fighting for his life, the cop fires one last round. It's a direct hit. Officer Lavoie calls for backup. He is uninjured. But the gunman isn't so fortunate. He's been shot several times and is in critical condition, but survives to face his crimes. The man is charged with multiple felonies, including aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And soon, he'll be off the gurney and behind bars.
It's a decision no officer or citizen ever wants to make. When to take lethal action. But criminals don't hesitate, and lives can change in an instant. So when the situation is dire and there's nowhere to run, sometimes the only option left is to use deadly force.